So, welcome back, everybody, to the 90s Rewind with me, Paul Jenkins, here on 104.7 Rossendale Radio. And usually my guest is somebody who lived through the 90s, was working through the 90s. But this week, we thought we'd go with something a little bit different. Good evening, Mr. Paddy Higginson. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yes, indeed. It's been a while. And of course, you are a member of Mr. Wilson's second liners, who are an absolute, are experts on the 90s, but yet you weren't working during the 90s, were you?
No, but I was listening to a lot of the music that we play, so I know most of it. Some of it is new to me, which has been great to learn and to play and enjoy and rave to. But no, I certainly wasn't going out and clubbing to most of the tracks that we play, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was going to say you are. In fact, generally, I think the band generally are a little bit younger in terms of generation, which I find brilliant. It's just explain Mr. Wilson's second liners to anybody who hasn't necessarily come across you either online or in person, which I find hard to believe because you've been everywhere.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Wilson's second liners. First of all, we are a second line band, which is a New Orleans style brass band. So we're mobile. We've got brass instruments, saxophones. We've got a mobile drum kit. So we work really well at carnivals and parades. Second lining is what follows a funeral, essentially. It's the second line behind the funeral. So we are kind of known as Tony Wilson's funeral band. That's what we like to think that we are.
Right.
We're the party after the funeral. So it's supposed to be a very joyous occasion. Lots of partying and dancing and singing. Lots of people joining in. So that's where the Mr. Wilson's part comes from as well. Of course, Tony Wilson was massive in the 90s and massive in Manchester.
Yeah.
So we predominantly play 90s dance music.
And that's the thing. This is the sort of stuff that you may have heard in the Hacienda back in the 90s, but now you're hearing in the high street or in a shopping centre or at a carnival or in the middle of a park. Or, I mean, you've played all sorts of different places, haven't you?
Yeah, every week is different. And that's what I love about being in this band. The set list can change, but the environment is just completely different week on week. Yeah, we do a lot of functions and weddings and corporate gigs, but we also do anything from Wigan markets, which we did at the weekend, and then went straight on to Sheffield to play on a stage in front of a few hundred people with huge lighting and pyrotechnics. So in the same day, we just had these massive contrasts. But it's great, and we love kind of turning up on street corners and creating a little bit of a rave and a real party atmosphere and just taking us back to the early 90s.
And social media has been huge for the band, hasn't it? Because there's the countless occasions I've seen popping up on my feed of like just people finding you, taking random video and say, have you seen these guys? Have you seen what they're playing? Some of these videos that you've had sort of appearing online that you're not producing, the public are seeing and sending them out there. You're getting thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of views at a time, aren't you?
Yeah, there's one particular one which was at a festival in Whitchfield, of all places. Which church, actually? Which church? Get it right. So it was in Whitchurch, and that video, to be honest, when I first saw the video, we're just parading down the street, popping into the chip shop or the hairdressers, just kind of annoying a few people. We had a small gathering behind us, but it wasn't the biggest kind of sound or the best visual video that we've seen, and incredibly it's had over 20 million views on Facebook, and it's been shared so many times, hundreds of thousands of times. It's got hundreds of thousands of likes, and so that video in particular has done really well, but there's a lot of videos out there that do particularly well. And what we quite like about our band is we don't particularly say who we are that much. We don't hand out lots of cards. We quite like the idea that people see us and don't really know who we are, and then it's their job to go and find out who we are, and that's kind of what we feel is really great for them. They can figure out who we are, and then hopefully come and see us at a gig as well.
It's great. You're like a flash mob. You just appear, and then suddenly, you get all this. And the thing is, the band is very distinctive. You've got very set costumes, haven't you? In terms of it's very bright colours. You almost look like the front cover of Sergeant Pepper. The whole of you.
Yeah. The first thing that people say is Sergeant Pepper's. I like to think Sergeant Poppers because it's the 90s. Yeah, you can get away with that. So, but actually, we're not. We are a Manchester-based band. So our dress is actually based on the Bee Gees,
Oh, I see, right.
not Sergeant Pepper's. There is an album cover, I can't remember which one it is, where they've got a bike and they've got the white pants and similar jackets to Sergeant Pepper's, really, to the Beatles. But we've raved them up a bit. We've got a lot of bling on there, lots of lights, and we've got interesting hats as well. So yeah, we've put our own stamp on the image.
It is a fantastic image, and it's always popular wherever you go. Now you've been choosing the playlist for us this evening. We started with a bit of Daft Punk to come into this part of the show. You had Around the World. Daft Punk, I mean, they just moved everything on, didn't they? They're just absolute trailblazers.
Yeah, amazing band with some amazing records as well. And we really enjoy trying to arrange their music because obviously it's completely electronic music. Even the vocals with vocoders and so on. So we love trying to imitate those sounds on live brass instruments and voices and the drum kit especially. So we do a few of their tracks. That's one that we love to do, and especially at the breakdown in the middle, getting everyone singing along and kind of spinning around the world and then kind of breaking back into it. But yeah, we love Daft Punk.
And we're going to move into D-Light now. Now, this is groovy. I mean, literally, it's in the title. Now, this is one of those tracks that I remember from Top of the Pops when it got to #1. And this was an absolute tune from the moment I heard it. I mean, this must get people dancing, right?
Yeah, instantly. And the great thing about this tune and a few of the tunes we do is that they actually use a bit of brass. So the opening riff at the beginning, you've got this brass kind of hook. Straight away, that works really well in the brass band, and people know exactly what it is. The bass comes in. We've got a bass saxophone, which is a very unusual instrument. Usually, the lowest saxophones that you'd see around is the baritone. This is bigger than that, and it's over 100 years old. This saxophone as well. That comes in with this really powerful bass line, which everyone recognizes, and the drums kick in, and yeah, it's great. Everyone starts dancing.
Well, let's have a listen to the original. This is D-Light, and Groove is in the Heart.